Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to take a massive, comprehensive guide on retirement finance and boil it down into a clear, actionable blueprint for your future. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by financial jargon or kind of wondered if you'll ever actually be able to stop working and just enjoy life, well, you're in the right place. Let's get right into it.
Right off the bat, let's start with a pretty harsh reality. 40%. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, nearly 40% of Americans over the age of 65 rely solely on Social Security for their income. And honestly, that's usually nowhere near enough to cover the basics, let alone fund that dream lifestyle where you never have to set an alarm clock again.
So to make sure you've got a foolproof strategy, we're going to follow this exact roadmap today. First, the reality check. Then, cracking the retirement code, followed by the crypto question, building passive income, and we'll wrap it all up with your step-by-step master plan.
Okay, Section 1, the reality check. Let's demystify the basics.
Look, before we can build a rock-solid plan, we have to bust some jargon. If terms like 401k usually make your head spin, stick with me. We're starting with compound interest, which is, without a doubt, the engine of your retirement. Think of it as the magic of earning interest on your interest. So if you stash away $1,000 at a 5% interest rate, after 1 year, you've got $1,050. But in year 2, you're earning interest on that new total of $1,050, not just your initial $1,000. It creates this massive snowball effect that literally turns small, consistent savings into an absolute fortune over a couple of decades.
But while compound interest is busy building your wealth up, we've got to account for the force dragging it down, and that is inflation. This is just the process where prices rise over time, meaning $1 today simply won't buy you as much in 30 years. Your retirement plan actually has to fight back against this invisible force to maintain your purchasing power. And to protect yourself against that inflation, we use our next core concept, diversification. It's basically the ultimate defense mechanism for your money. Diversification just means reducing your risk by spreading your investments across different asset classes. We're talking stocks, bonds, real estate, things like that. It's the classic golden rule. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Finally, when it comes to the actual accounts holding your money, you're usually choosing between a 401k and an IRA. A 401k is employer-sponsored, so the money comes right out of your paycheck, and it often includes an employer match, which, by the way, is literally free money. An IRA, or individual retirement account, is a personal account you set up yourself. A traditional IRA gives you tax-deferred growth, while a Roth IRA is amazing because it allows for completely tax-free withdrawals when you retire.
Moving on to Section 2, cracking the retirement code. Figuring out exactly how much money you actually need.
So this is the million-dollar question, right? How much do you need to finally quit the rat race? Well, it all comes down to a really simple 4-step formula. First, estimate your expenses. A solid rule of thumb is aiming for about 80% of your pre-retirement income. Second, factor in that pesky inflation we just talked about. Third, account for Social Security, which averages around $21,600 a year right now. And step 4, apply the famous 4% rule. This rule basically says you can safely withdraw 4% of your total retirement savings every single year for 30 years, and you won't run out of money.
Let's make this math real for a second. Meet Sarah. She's a 35-year-old single mom making $50,000 a year right now. And let's say her goal is to retire at 65 with an inflation-adjusted annual income of $40,000.
How does she figure out her target? Well, she uses the inverse of the 4% rule, which is just a fancy way of saying she takes her $40,000 goal and multiplies it by 25. That means Sarah's magic number is exactly $1 million. Now I know, hearing $1 million sounds incredibly daunting, doesn't it?
But here's the brilliant part. By leaning on compound interest and sticking to a strategy of saving just $500 a month in a diversified portfolio with a pretty conservative 6% average return, Sarah can actually hit that massive goal by age 65. Starting early and just being consistent literally does the heavy lifting for you.
All right, Section 3, the crypto question. Should digital assets be part of your plan?
You know, it's pretty much impossible to talk about finance today without bringing up the modern elephant in the room, cryptocurrency. On one hand, the potential is undeniable. We've seen massive, exponential growth, like Bitcoin blasting past $60,000 back in 2021. Plus, it offers decentralization away from traditional banks. But on the flip side, the risks are huge. Extreme volatility, like Bitcoin's brutal 50% drop in 2022, mixed with regulatory uncertainty and the very real threat of hacks, All of that makes it a highly risky foundation for something as critical as your retirement.
Because of that, financial experts strongly suggest keeping it grounded. If you really want exposure to established coins like Bitcoin or Ethereum, cap it at just 1 to 5% of your total portfolio. And please, only use money you can genuinely afford to lose. It's a bonus play, absolutely not the foundation of your future.
Section 4. Building passive income. Literally earning money while you sleep.
What if you could shrink that massive savings target by creating cash flow that doesn't require a 9-to-5 job? This is where your financial freedom really shifts into high gear. There are some incredibly proven ways to build this up. You could look at the steady monthly checks from rental properties, or dividend stocks that just hand you 3 to 5% annual yields for simply holding them. You could create scalable online businesses, like digital products or blogs, or dive into peer-to-peer lending, or even secure government bonds and annuities. The whole point is setting up revenue streams that take very little of your active time once they're running.
To picture this, let's look at John. He's a 45-year-old teacher who decided to start small. He put $10,000 into dividend stocks yielding 4%. So in year 1, that generated $400 in passive income. Now I hear you, $400 doesn't sound like a game changer, but watch what happens.
By consistently reinvesting those dividends year after year and eventually buying a small rental property, John is totally on track to generate $20,000 a year in passive income by the time he retires. That single, systematic strategy covers half his living expenses, which dramatically lowers the massive nest egg he needs to save up.
Finally, Section 5. Your step-by-step master plan. Let's craft your secure financial future.
We've covered all the rules, the math, the tools, so let's synthesize the whole shebang. Phase 1 of your blueprint is purely foundational. First, assess your current finances. Figure out your net worth and build a budget. Second, set that retirement goal using the 4% rule we walked through earlier. Third, build an emergency fund covering 3 to 6 months of expenses so life's little surprises don't knock you off course. And fourth, maximize those retirement accounts. Seriously, if your employer offers a 401k match, take it.
Phase 2 is all about growth and maintenance. Invest wisely by focusing on broad, low-cost index funds or ETFs. Then, take a portion of those savings and explore passive income, just like John did with his dividends. And finally, reassess annually. Life is going to change, your expenses will shift, and your master plan has to evolve right alongside you.
Remember, small, consistent actions are what actually transform dreams into reality. Honestly, the biggest mistake you can make is waiting around for the perfect time to start. So I want to leave you with this. What is your next step today to secure your financial freedom? Are you going to calculate your magic number, open that IRA, or maybe research your first dividend stock? The choice is entirely yours. Make your money work for you and start building your future today.